Hello and welcome to Finextra. I'm Josie Waite and I'm here at Sibos 2017 in Toronto. And joining me is Akshaya Kapoor from Oracle, and we're talking about how pricing can help banks' revenue. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Josie.
Are we actually valuing the true relationship with the customer while pricing?
You know, in current world when margins are very low from the interest rates, fees on the transactions are going low, it is very important to value the relationship with the customer, whether it is retail or corporate banking. I still feel that banks are far away from valuing the relationship of the customer because of the siloed systems or siloed way of working. I'll give you one example. I work with my personal account is one of the biggest banks, with one of the biggest banks, and I have about $500,000 worth of relationship with them, including my mortgage, credit card, and everything. And I was asked to pay $20 for my checkbook, right? So that's the scenario that we are looking at. And if you look at from a corporate banking perspective, it takes about 5 days to realize what the relationship of the customer is before we can say what to sell them more. So I think we're still far away from where we can actually aggregate the relationship, look at the customer relationship and value it when it comes to pricing the customer.
How do we recognize, anticipate and influence customer behavior while pricing transactions?
When we start valuing the customer from a pricing perspective, you can also use that data, the value, to actually improve the customer behavior. For example, improving the STP ratios, right? Improving the transactions which are pushed into the system off-peak versus on-peak, right? So you could actually, when you have the relationship of the customer, you know what the customer is doing, right? You are aligned to the customer life cycle. You could actually change the behavior of the customer, not by breaking the trust or getting into the data privacy issues, but creating pricing strategies that can help you incent the customer to do certain things which are cheaper for you and better for the customer, provides better value for the customer. So it's all about making sure that you recognize the value, you align with the customer, and you use these strategies to have a better behavior from the customer as well.
Do we have enough data to run analytical models for pricing it right?
How do you know the value of the customer, right? So if you look at the banks, and we have been into many of these seminars, right? If you look at this, banks have the most data to exactly know what the customers want to do, what the customers are trying to do. So imagine this, right? When Uber walked into a big bank, and at that time, they would have been profiled as tier 4 or tier 3 customer, or whatever, gold, platinum, silver. And their behavior started changing, right? They started behaving like a tier 2, tier 1 company. Banks have the data to see that the volumes are increasing, the payments are increasing, the deposits are increasing. So it's very important to recognize these events and be able to say, okay, now Uber is behaving like a tier 1, let me value that relationship, let me get the data right and get to them before they go and ask us for a discount, right? It is more of a proactive approach versus a reactive approach. So I believe the banks have all the data, but it is not used in the right context. And once you start using the data in the right context, you give meaning to the data, all the things that we have talked about starts making sense.
And what about dynamic pricing?
When you start looking at the components that we have talked about, valuing the customer, realizing or aligning what the customer is trying to do, using the data properly, then you can come up with these dynamic strategies, right? Which is not, so we have been talking from an Oracle perspective, our product called Oracle Revenue Management and Billing. We have been talking about a concept called click, buy, buy, or click, buy, buy, right? So if it's a click, buy, buy, it's a one-time customer, right? Then in that case, you have to look from a more product perspective, how you can make sure you get the revenue first time right. Whereas when you go to click, buy, buy, that means you want the customer, or you recognize that the customer is a continuous cycle with you, right? In that scenario, you can come up with dynamic pricing strategies which are more aligned to their milestones. They're more aligned to their behavior, which will make sure that they're incented at the right place. You're selling the right value and you're selling the right thing, but making sure that the pricing reacts accordingly. Like you and me, right? You and I go to a Costco. More we buy, the better price we get, right?
Yeah.
Versus going to one time to Gucci to get a bag. right?
That's great. Very, very interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Josie, for giving me the opportunity.
And thank you for watching.